Hello and welcome to a new podcast episode of Nina's Apothecary. Today I'll be addressing a question that I often get asked in the pharmacy, in my everyday life, and on social media, and that's the topic of discontinuing the pill. Generally, the birth control pill. The pill is a huge topic. Voices claiming it's not really healthy are getting louder, suggesting there might be alternatives. But what's the truth behind it all? What's true and what's not? That's what I'd like to talk to you about today, and I'm glad you're joining me again. I always appreciate your feedback. Thank you for that. Thank you for being simply the coolest community ever, wanting to feel good every day and get the best out of yourselves, just like me. I think that's super cool. Thanks for that. So, what exactly is the birth control pill? There are thousands of them on the market nowadays, with super cute names and the promise of an easy sex life. It's a hormonal method of contraception. I think we're all aware of that. And it can consist of either estrogen and progestin, or just one of these hormones, which are our female sex hormones, and they prevent ovulation and thicken the uterine lining. To be more precise, they thicken the mucus in the cervix, which in turn prevents possible implantation. However, lately I've noticed, and it was the case for me as well, that I took the pill for 17 years without really knowing why. Because I didn't have any problems or anything. Somehow it just seemed convenient and practical. You don't really have to think about it. I had my pill alarm every evening, took it, and that was it. Now in hindsight, I would never do it again. And secondly, there's a lot more awareness now. Even after my studies and all my further education and knowledge, I really wouldn't do it again, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, because it can really lead to major side effects, whether you feel them or not, which may only manifest themselves later in life. So, I would really advise against adding hormones to your body if it's not absolutely necessary. Of course, there are exceptions where I would recommend taking the pill, and probably your doctor would too. For example, endometriosis, if you're experiencing extreme pain, where it's just unbearable. That would be one of the classic exceptions. Everything else, like why the pill is often prescribed so casually, such as for acne, I see that very differently, because I should be grateful that my body, even with minor issues like acne, is telling me, hey, pay attention, something's not right with me or my gut, or whatever it might be. So, these are small warning signs that we should gratefully accept and pay attention to, in my opinion, why our bodies are somehow signaling that something's off. We shouldn't just steamroll over it with medication, and the pill is medication, it's hormones. Another aspect is that many women want to stop taking the pill because they want a better sense of their body, a better understanding of their own menstrual cycle, and they want to improve their lifestyle. And that really only works if we have a balanced hormone system. Hormones, as you hear in my other episodes, especially when discussing the thyroid, are such delicate mechanisms, like gears interlocking. So, it's even more important that we pay attention to them, and if it's not absolutely necessary, I would really advise against it. What could be the most common side effects of the pill? Well, these include weight changes, mood swings, loss of libido, headaches, gastrointestinal issues. So, there's really a long list. Everyone experiences them differently, and that's always crucial, especially with this topic, individuality. Individuality is always very important to me, and you can never overly generalize a topic. So, I'm just telling you about the most common possible side effects. It can affect everyone very differently. There are also possible long-term effects, both negative and positive. I won't forget anything. A possible negative long-term effect is an increased risk of thrombosis. I think that's something you often hear about in the media. And then we have the issue of mood swings, depression again. You can imagine it roughly like this. When we take hormones that are already pre-made, like estrogen and progestin, the body kind of panics and says, this is too much for me, and then basically wipes out almost all sexual hormones because it says, I need to get rid of this from my body. And that's when everything gets mixed up, and as a result, I may experience a decreased libido. But there are, of course, positive effects too. It could be that weight changes turn positive, for example, or that we get clearer skin. There are also long-term positive effects, such as a reduction in ovarian cancer risk. But what can happen when I stop taking the pill? Well, the first thing that's very likely is that I'll experience irregularities in my menstrual cycle, because it can take a long time for my hormone status, my hormone production, to rebalance, especially since we've probably messed it up for years, and it may be totally out of whack for a while, which can really take a long time, or the normal cycle may just re-establish itself. Not every woman has a 28-day cycle. It could be longer for some and shorter for others, and it may just naturally settle back into its rhythm. What else can happen? There can be hormone changes that we notice elsewhere, for example, in the skin and mood. Then fertility may return. That happens very, very often. I'll explain a few myths about the pill and such later on. The pill doesn't make us infertile, but it does lower fertility a bit, which can be restored pretty quickly, depending on how long I've been taking the pill, how well I'm taking care of my body, and how positive my lifestyle is. Then we have changes in the skin, as mentioned before, which can be positive or negative in nature. A change in libido when stopping the pill usually results in women experiencing increased libido, meaning more desire for sex, because once our hormones rebalance, we can produce our natural hormones again, and the body doesn't frantically wipe everything out and say, no, get rid of it, we have too much. Weight changes can also occur, as mentioned earlier, and they can go either way, as well as an improvement in our mood. Mood swings, for example, are less common when we stop taking the pill, as the pill also depletes many important nutrients from our bodies, like B-complex, tryptophan, and a few amino acids. So if you need to take the pill, you can counteract this by supplementing with these nutrients, and feel free to ask me for individual product recommendations. What's sort of overarching all of this is an improved sense of well-being. That means I've really talked to a lot of women. I've noticed it myself too. You somehow feel your body better. You have a better sense of yourself. As I mentioned, better mood, just a more pleasant feeling. You feel more feminine. You might even feel your ovulation. You can sense when your period is coming. So it's no longer all timed according to the pill pack. It really comes from within us. Now, we all know in theory that stopping the pill is probably very wise and would do us a lot of good. But at the same time, there are some fears associated with it, like what will happen to me? What will happen to my skin, my weight? How will I feel? How will I continue to prevent pregnancy? Oh my God, I've been taking it for so long, and so on. So, I have a few tips for you that you can definitely consider and keep in mind if you're thinking about stopping the pill, which I warmly invite you to do. The first thing, and you'll always hear this from me, I believe, in every podcast episode and every video, whether it's on TikTok, our Frau Apotheker, or on Instagram, our Nina Millen, is lifestyle, the foundation, the most important thing for us and our bodies. It's about nutrition, exercise, staying hydrated, social interactions, happiness, and I really invite you to focus 80% on how you can best nourish yourself. By that, I mean whole foods, no products with an ingredient list. I know it's become relatively difficult nowadays. We go to the supermarket, and the only products without ingredient lists are not at the beginning and aren't as prominent as the rest. Still, it's absolutely crucial. And this isn't about vegan, keto, omnivore, whatever. It's simply about real food, real ingredients, always the foundation. And if we've established this foundation, which we can start a month or 2 or 3 before stopping the pill, then there's no need to fear. We can also work supportively with supplements, build up our gut health, which I'll get into later, but the foundation is always nutrition, exercise, and hydration. Another tip I have for you is to have patience, because we can't expect that if we've been externally supplying our bodies with hormones for years, essentially disrupting our natural balance, that it will be back to normal overnight. It can take months to years. Have patience, be grateful for what your body is doing, and don't stress yourself or stress your body out. You can also support your body with natural remedies, such as herbal teas. We have our own blend called Strawberry Days Tea, which contains fantastic herbs and spices that can support the natural menstrual cycle. Just observe your cycle, as there are now really cool apps available for free. Keep track of it, then you can always see if things are starting to normalize or if it's still irregular. Also, make regular visits to your doctor, your gynecologist, or a trusted healthcare provider and talk to them about it. I know time can sometimes be an issue with doctors, but there are great exceptions, and it definitely helps a lot. Now let's talk about supplements that we can take supportively when stopping the pill. Here too, I recommend starting a few months before to replenish your body's stores so that it doesn't fall into a deficit when you stop, and your vitamin and nutrient stores are also empty. First of all, there's the B complex. Very important. It always needs all the B vitamins from B1 to B12 for each to work. I would particularly highlight folic acid, which is also part of the B complex. If you take it alone and you have a deficiency somewhere else, unfortunately it won't work. So just take the B complex. I mentioned it briefly earlier, building up the gut, which means taking probiotics. We have our own probiotic, Probiotic 10, with 10 strains of bacteria, which I either take first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening. It's a really fantastic tool, especially if you're worried about getting skin breakouts, as often the condition of the skin reflects the condition of the gut and vice versa. Another important supplement is omega-3. You'll hear me talk about this a lot, but it's particularly important for all hormonal issues, whether it's the pill, puberty, or menopause. Take it daily. It contains anti-inflammatory components that can help reduce inflammation that you might see on your skin, for example. Vitamin D is one of the most crucial supplements that you should ideally take all year round, even in summer. It's also anti-inflammatory and is a hormone itself, which many people don't realize. So, it plays a role in our intricate hormonal balance and is especially important because it helps with the production of both male and female sex hormones. And you'll always hear me talk about magnesium. Magnesium can do incredible things, especially when it comes to stopping the pill or even pre-pill menstrual discomfort. It has a relaxing effect on cramps and plays a role in our hormone production. In fact, it's involved in over 300 processes in our bodies. But in every situation, for every issue, for every desire, for every health condition, the most important thing is self-care and self-love. Believe me, I forgot about that for decades, or I simply thought it was nonsense. I stressed my body endlessly, and that brings us to point number 1 of self-care, stress reduction. Sometimes it helps to just take 5 or even 2 minutes to breathe, to give ourselves a break, whether it's during work or leisure time. It's super important, just like sleep, which I used to think was a waste of time. I never had time for it. I had to work, I had to do something. It's extremely important. I really recommend getting 7, 8, or even 9 hours of sleep per night because our body detoxifies during sleep and hormones especially are produced during the night, starting around 3 or 4 in the morning. It's a crucial topic. I've already emphasized the importance of exercise and nutrition as well as staying hydrated. That's also part of self-care and self-love because we have to ask ourselves, am I worth giving my body the best it deserves? I hope you answer that question with a resounding yes. And also time for oneself, time for relaxation, just going for a walk, maybe going for a run, or simply sitting on the couch and listening to a relaxation meditation on YouTube. It's a very important topic. So, in summary, if you've made the decision or if you've been thinking about stopping the pill for a while, I can only encourage you to do so. I'm always in favor of a natural approach, of the body's self-regulation. As I said, there are a few exceptions. If you're unsure, feel free to reach out to me, either at the pharmacy or on Instagram, TikTok, or directly on my website, karish.at. It's very, very important that we already take good care of our bodies beforehand, that we give them the best in terms of nutrition, exercise, time, stress management, and supplements. I believe this is another crucial step toward our shared vision and mission, which is to show you all how easy it is to feel good. I'll take you along on that journey. So it's our shared vision and mission, and I'm glad you've listened again, maybe even watched. Thank you so much, and cherish yourself.